5 and mute the music. Tim and John are sitting at the club. We're live. Pardon me with all that jizzy jazzy that you heard, audience. Here's what I need to tell you is welcome back to 2218's Attitude for Gratitude weekly live podcast. This week, like I was saying, it's going to be a banger. We got John S. in the house and Elena will be shortly arriving. Here at 2218, that's where you're hearing us bring this podcast to you from. This is the place that helps save lives. This is the place that is open to the recovery community for all facets of meetings. We have NA, we have AA, we've got Al-Anon, we've got CMA. This is the recovery community at its finest, is 2218, the longest running Al-Anon club in the world. We're talking 80 plus years. This is that's huge. Like I said, this is something like you can't put a price tag on it because you're talking about putting a price tag on your life. In my life, I almost said it's worthless, but you can't put it. It's priceless. Yes, not worthless. You can't put a price on my life, and that's why I look at this club. You can't put a price on something, and this is the place that helped save my life. So once Elena gets in here, we're going to get the links up here for reaching out to 2218. You can always just go to the Facebook page you're listening to us from. You can find the website 2218.org, And if you're able to donate, please donate. You can also come on down here, donate some time. Come volunteer at the front desk. This place is the doors are open because of volunteers. That is the reason why this place is able to maintain and keep running, is because of all the people that step up and volunteer at 2218. I also would like to briefly just read what the vision statement is here at 2218. I think we call it a vision statement, but I know it's been reformatted once or twice, but at the end of the day, like I've said it before, this is the place that saves lives. Like, this is here for the recovery community. You know what? I don't have it in front of me. So 2218 is the place that, like I've said over and over, it's the place that helped save my life. It's the place that helps network. It's the place that has the right for recovery. It's multiple different things when it comes to the second chance of a new life. And that's what we talk about on this show. And that's why I was able to get John here. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff. He just got back from a humanitarian trip or something to that effect, mission trip. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about recovery. He's part of one of the meetings that are running here that I'm going to bug him about. And we're going to visit that topic from back in the early Phoenix days. There's a lot of stuff I'm going to be throwing at him. Plus, he's got a couple topics himself. Remember, this show is interactive. So if you have questions for John, you have questions for myself, post them up here. We will try to interact. If you got anything that you want me to ask him, go ahead and throw it on here. He's got his phone in front of him. I got my phone in front of me. Elena will have hers in front of her. We interact on this show, and that's exactly what that means. So if you've got any questions and you're not comfortable putting it on the public thread, just message me directly. I put my number on there. A lot of people do every week, so don't hesitate. The main thing I want to put out there is share this. If you know anyone who's out there struggling, anyone who could hear a little recovery, hear about this new life we're living or we're taking advantage of, or however you want to look at it, is a second chance at life. That's what we talk about on here, is what we're doing, how we're not letting it go to the wayside, how we utilize the connections we've made, how we capitalize on our recovery. I'm not going to sit and promote too hard. That was a good 3 minutes of promoting, 4 minutes of promoting. Someone said they could barely hear me say mission. So, I don't know. I will try to irritatingly get closer to my mic. I'll turn our headphones down, John, because I know
I'm just talking about you could barely hear me.
Oh.
I was way back here.
I told you, uncomfortably put that thing in your mouth.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, for you, comfortably. But, so, check it out. John S. is in the house. You know what? The last thing is, if you're struggling, if you are in need of some help, reach out. 100%. Reach out. You don't have to be alone. Suicide hotline, I will always put that it's a new one. I think it's like 899. It's some new. I'll find it and I'll post it like I do every week. Just know that if you're struggling, please reach out. You don't need to. You are worth it. You're loved. Stick around. Wait for the miracle. Have an experience. So, welcome to 2218. Who are you?
I am John, and I'm an addict.
Welcome, John.
What's going on, buddy?
I'll tell you here shortly is I need to put this in and see if I can really be heard or not. I want you to talk to me. I want you to tell me what's going on in your life. We will talk about where you just came back from, and matter of fact, tell me what's going on with you.
What's up? I guess I don't know what you want to know. Like you said, I just got back from a missions trip in Belize, which is a blessing of this program, because had I been in active addiction, it never would have happened. They wouldn't have let me leave the country or let me into the country for that matter.
Here's what I want you to tell me. Because I'm going to have you vamp while I go let Elena in. Talk to our audience about what church, how'd you get talked into it, or did you volunteer for it? Tell us kind of just the build up to what it was.
Well, the church.
The audience is all yours, bro.
Oh man, you just left me alone here. You sure you want to do this? I think there's rules and stuff I'm supposed to follow. So I went with my kids' church, First Baptist Church in Anoka. It was an opportunity, just a blessing in itself that I was even able to be present when they brought it up and not just gone all the time. The opportunity arose itself, and I took it. I was able to go out there and basically do a week of service work for others, which is a huge part of this program, and that is a huge part of what saves a lot of people's lives.
You're killing it.
So I don't know, man. Ask questions.
I just need. Okay.
Fat man's gonna catch his breath.
No, yeah, the fat man part's right. But I'm listening, and I'm being told that people can't hear us.
What's up, boo boo?
So Elena's in the house, Mike's in the house. I'm not sure exactly what you just told the audience.
I said I'm gonna try to follow as many rules as I can think of. He left me alone and unsupervised. That's not always a good thing.
Well, that has to do with someone needing to be let in the building.
Well,
Why they were
locked the moment that we got there and she didn't have her key.
Oh, well.
And dude was standing at the desk.
I know. He couldn't see you.
Whatever.
So John, sorry about that. Thank you everyone for their patience. What church?
First Baptist Church in Anoka.
Okay. How long you been going there?
I actually don't go to that church. My kid has been going to that church, which has been a blessing because I disappeared for so many years, and the church has pretty much saved his life and introduced him to God, and it's actually helped me come to grow in my faith quite a bit.
Stop banging.
Stop banging.
Yeah, see, it's a habit. It's easy to do. I thought it was Mike. I'm like, Mike ain't banging on nothing. He ain't touching the table. So, your kid.
Yeah.
This is happening because of your shorty. So did you go with your kid?
I did, yeah.
Me,
Me, him, and about 20 other people. So it was an amazing event.
Was it? You guys went down to South America?
We went to Belize. We stayed in a village called Pomona. And I guess it's a lot of, what's the word? I don't want to say poor, but it basically is poor.
Unadvantaged?
That was one of the great parts about it. Is one of my favorite parts was to see how it's so un-American. It's awesome. America is so impatient and selfish and just, I gotta have what I want and I want it now. That's just the way the world, it's how we've been raised.
Right.
And you get there and I don't want to say they have nothing, but they have very little. God gives them what they need and they're extremely happy about it. And it's just to see people that have nothing be so willing to come out and help somebody else do something with what very little they have. It's like I was saying earlier, man, I'm pretty sure I want to go down and retire down
That's what I heard you saying outside, yeah.
It's amazing to see people, and I mean, not everybody's walking around looking at their phone or, they actually get out and do stuff. And it's just, like I say, a huge part of this program is helping others. And that's what I got to do for a week. And I got to witness, I just got to witness people that have very little willing to give everything to help somebody else who has less.
So, if I heard you right, we're in a big goddamn hurry to do stuff here.
Yeah.
And down there, they're just patient.
Yeah.
They're not in this big hurry. Sorry, you are this one here. God, is this better right there? Sorry.
I was even talking to some of the kids about that down there. Like that, I think, is a huge part of the problem in our society in America is everybody's in such a hurry, whether it be the guy cutting off the semi-truck or just getting mad in line or getting upset about stuff because things, now I can hear myself super loud.
Okay, I'm sorry, I hit you.
Getting upset about
That's
things
nothing
because
new.
things aren't going the way they want them to go. That whole life on life's terms thing we talk about, America as a whole has completely just thrown that to the wayside. We're gotten so used and accustomed to having things, Google. I mean, if you want to know something, you Google it. You got it
Right.
now. You don't have to go knock on the neighbor's door and ask for a cup of sugar anymore. And that's just,
You can ask Google for a cup of sugar.
well, I mean, you can ask Google where you can buy the nearest cup of sugar or go get the nearest free cup of sugar,
So down there, though, I guess what the thing is, you went down there to do what though? Like, were you guys helping them get clean water? Were you guys helping them dig ditches? Like, what was the goal to do down there?
To help. What we did is we built some walls for this church. We did a whole lot of painting. We actually we just slept on the floor in this church for a week, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's hot and humid, is more than I care to admit. But we helped out. You know, we did
Whatever they had, did they like have a list for you?
That was the painting they needed done. This wall, a couple of things they needed built. The church in the village we stayed at, it's basically just a pastor and his wife and one or two other people that help out.
Are they American?
No.
What is that nationality? Is it
Belizean?
Belizean?
I believe.
Is that real? I don't know.
I believe it's
I almost
Creole.
Creole?
Creole. I mean, they speak English. 90% of them speak very fluent English.
Is it Spanish though?
Yeah, Spanish and Creole. And from what I understand, Creole is basically just gibberish.
Yeah. Well, it's like
But
what
they
New
understand
Orleans
it.
type
Yeah.
talk too,
Yep.
right? Like,
Yep.
yeah. And I love it. I love the way that stuff sounds. Trying to figure out what the hell people are saying. But Elena's in the house. Say hello.
Hi, everybody.
All right.
Hey, boo boo.
So John and Elena have like a 20, 30-year history here we're going to get into shortly, and she's going to be taking
No,
over
we're
a lot
not.
of this interview. We're not. So John, you go down there. Like, I'm going to pick this apart a little bit. Is you, your kid, how many people? 20? You said 20?
There was like 24 of us.
You guys flew down, right?
Yes.
And was it a one-way flight?
No, well, yeah, it was.
No layover?
Yeah, there was a layover in Dallas for like 2 or 3 hours. We had enough time to eat and maybe get back on the plane, you know.
And then there was no hotel stays?
We left Saturday and came back Saturday. The Friday we were down there, we stayed on Key Cocker and just kind of hung out.
Key Cocker is where the town, or what's
Key Cocker is an island out
I like
in the
saying it,
Caribbean.
Key
I do too.
Cocker, yeah.
That's the only reason why you're saying that.
Yeah, Key Cocker. Key Cocker.
It's an island out in the Caribbean Sea, and yeah, I mean, it's basically just a tourist attraction. It was kind of the fun day that they
And beautiful, right?
It was
Like,
gorgeous.
I saw some of the pictures you posted, and honestly, that was what made me think, like, oh, dude, we haven't had John on the show. We got to get John here. And those pictures, like I said, also, my girlfriend's going down there, I think, November. Her and her sister are going down for a week or so, and it's not on a missionary trip. But
Well, and it was some of the promises of this program that they talk about. You know, I got.
What do you mean?
I got to take my kid to the ocean for the first time. We got to go snorkel. I got to high five a shark, like just a wild shark in the water, just fin to hand, just boom. I got to pet a stingray and stuff, and like
how old is your kid?
16.
Okay.
I got to experience that with my child. You know, it's so much time in my addiction. I was too shamed. I was too high. I was too effed up to even want to go see my kid because I didn't want them to see me like that. I didn't want to be around them. You know, I don't know how many times I went to jail, and my kids lived 2 blocks away from jail in Oakland. I couldn't make it. That was the stipulation. If you can come from jail and not get high, okay, I can do that. I can't. I couldn't freaking do that.
Couldn't do it.
I couldn't walk 2 blocks without getting effed over.
Right.
See? I caught myself there.
Yeah, hey, it's up to you.
I couldn't walk 2 blocks without getting so effed up that I was too ashamed to even go see my kids or say hi to them.
And that went on for
10 years.
10 years.
You know, and that
How
was
long do you have right now? How much clean time
a
do you
little over 3 years.
Okay.
About 3.5. I don't know, about 3.5 years.
And how long have you been trying to get this?
I've been to treatment 18 times. I mean, 15, 16 years old. I started getting in trouble. And
We got a snippet of what you just did, and we're going to bounce back to that. But now we're getting into some meat and potatoes that I want to. Give us a synopsis of your story. When you got introduced to, I don't need an exact experience strength coach, but introduce yourself to the audience and what your experience strength coach was. Kind of a recap. You know, good childhood. It was nasty. You got beat.
I had a pretty good childhood. I was raised by a single mom. I always said, well, I had a sperm donor. You know, my stepdad's been around since, I don't know, I think they've been together for like 30 years. But and I was actually just talking about this in Belize with the group. They wanted to hear, you know, testimony or whatever. And I had a good childhood. You know, my mom, I never really wanted for anything. I had everything I needed. My mom took really good care of me, but she was basically a single mom, you know.
Right.
She was always at work, always doing, I mean, when I was really young, she kind of went to the bar and did stuff, played softball, whatever, and drank and had a good time. But I mean, that, by the time I was 12, that was done and over with. I don't think she's drank since, just because she doesn't like to drink. So yeah, and I don't know. So yeah, I had a pretty good childhood. But I was one of them kids that just liked attention. You know, I liked to be the center of attention. I just didn't feel like I got enough attention at home, I guess. So I tried to get it elsewhere, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent. Um, you know, and when you're doing drugs and acting a fool, you get all kinds of attention. So I've been in and out of recovery since I was probably 15. It never really stuck. I had a stint of 2 years, and you know, I was thinking that hey, you know, I can smoke a little weed. A little weed ain't gonna hurt nothing. I can smoke a little weed and go to sleep. And that, you know, within I don't know a year of starting to smoke weed again, I was drunk all the time. I was smoking meth again. I was right back where I had left off. And I mean,
Instantly.
Instantly. You know how they talk about your addiction, your
You pick up where you. Yeah.
no BS. The first time I drank, I went to the liquor store. I got about a liter of vodka. I was like, you know, I haven't drank in like 7 years. This will be all right. It'll be all right. I drank that bottle of vodka in like an hour and was like, God, I should have got more. It was ridiculous. And yeah, you know, and that's how it was. Like I'd never. And even when I started doing meth again, I think I can do this on the weekends. I can do this on the weekends. The third weekend I tried to do it, I started drinking, started doing meth. That Monday, I didn't go to work. So I called in to work on Tuesday to apologize for not coming in. And they're like, oh, well, come on in, you know, no big deal. I walk in, they show me pictures of me there on Monday, sleeping in the warehouse in front of the machinery. And they're like, you're fired. You're done.
What you were just too much partying, and when you got to work, you're like,
Yeah,
I'm crashing.
I didn't even know I went to work that day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I said, I called in Tuesday to apologize for not coming to work on Monday. They showed me coming into work on Monday, just obliterated. You know, like I say, passed out in the back room, passed out on the floor in front of this big dangerous glass machine. It was horrible. I was just like, yeah, let me go sell some drugs.
Right, I'm gonna go back to what I think will work.
I went back to what was comfortable, and yeah, it didn't take long to get right back where I didn't want to be.
So, in a side note, Aaron, thanks for the support. One of your, I think you said, coworkers is on here. He's got some good praise for you, and like I said, thanks, Aaron, for the
That's
support.
actually my boss and my good buddy. I mean, that's another part of recovery that you got to find support.
And that's work now. Now you have support at work
Yeah.
because of recovery. So then, with that job, that doesn't work out. You go back out to selling drugs. Then what happens?
Jail, institutions, death at one point. I overdosed and pretty much died. I didn't think that was a big deal. I woke up first thing after they showed me videos of me having seizures and shit. I woke up and the first thing I was like, well, where's my bag? You know, so there's that insanity and that unmanageability. And it's just,
That's like the first thing your head tells you is like, where's my drugs?
where's my drugs? Where's my drugs? You know,
Right.
I need more drugs because let's do that again. And just jail and despair, depression. I was at one point I had a shotgun in my mouth. I don't remember. I remember waking up in the hospital after that. The last thing I remember is putting a shotgun in my mouth. Next thing I remember is being stuck in the hospital for days.
Oh no.
So, you know, and that wasn't any fun. You know what I mean? That's
Right,
not a good
yeah.
place. That's a horrible place to be.
But just major depression, or just because of the buildup of I lost my job, doing the drugs, everything builds up. Like
It's kind of. I started smoking weed again. I lost my job. My wife left me, took the kids. Everything kind of just that ball effect. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger as it went downhill. And finally, I said "F it" and just went with it. You know. And then nothing from that point. Nothing good happened. I couldn't do any good. I couldn't stay out of jail. I couldn't do any good. You know, nothing good came from that at all.
so, how long did that go on before something changed?
10 years.
Oh, you went back out.
I full on. I hit her hard, man.
And just kids, responsibilities in the back burner, like you didn't care. It
I didn't,
meant
like I
nothing.
say,
I mean, not that you didn't care, but
well, in
like-
all honesty, the life I was living, I didn't care. I didn't talk about my kids. I didn't want people to know I had kids. I didn't want to know those vulnerabilities. You know what I
Right.
mean? I didn't want to give up any weaknesses. So I just pretty much ixnayed my kids, and I'd end up in jail. You know, I'd be there, sober up for a couple of days, start feeling bad about myself. The depression really starts kicking in. I'd call the ex-wife, want to see the kids, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, you can all you got to do is get out of jail and stay sober. And like I said, I couldn't make it 2 blocks and stay sober.
it just piles up.
Yeah.
It kept piling up harder and heavier and heavier.
Yeah.
Okay, and then like 10 years, we don't need to hear drunkalogs. We get like you just kind of gave the audience enough to know like you had a problem, enough to put your kids on the back burner and basically
Work in general.
your own sanity.
Yeah.
Like you had none. So what brought you? So you went to treatments though. In that 10 years, did you?
No. All those treatments were as a kid.
Okay.
This
So you
time-
knew about recovery.
Oh yeah, I knew all about recovery. God, you know, and I don't care who or what your God is, but you gotta have God. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Ramsey County. Yeah, right? So
Yeah.
you know it's not a good place.
Uh-uh.
But I was sitting in Ramsey County. I went from Anoka to Ramsey County. I was sitting in Ramsey County. The public pretender came out and told me that, you know, we're going to sign some paperwork and we're going to get you out of here. I went back to the little holding bubble. The first thing I started thinking about is, well, who's going to pick me up? How am I going to get high before I leave this parking lot, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I realized that isn't what I want to do. While I was in Anoka County, I was going to the meetings, talking to a guy that came in and brought meetings and did stuff. And that's where God comes into play, because I sat there in jail, and for once, I don't know how many times I've been in jail and prayed, God, please get me out of this. I'll never do it again. Yeah, you know. I actually prayed, and I'll never forget the prayer, because I was one of those people that didn't believe in a higher power. I don't know if you want to call it an atheist or agnostic or whatever you want to call it. but
Atheist, sure.
I would argue with people why there wasn't a God. But I prayed, and I was like, God, I don't know if you're there. I don't know if you're listening. I don't even know if you care about me. But if you are there or you exist, please keep me in jail, because I cannot do this by myself.
And this was right after your defender, your public defender,
Pretender.
he said like, hey, we're going to get you out.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go back. Yeah, I want to hear that. This is your spiritual experience.
It is. This was my spiritual awakening, I guess you could call it.
Yep.
But I walked back into the courtroom, and that's how I knew God existed. Because after telling me that all this was going to happen and they were going to set me free, I walked into the courtroom and they're like, no, you're going to execute. So
And how much time do you have hanging over you?
I think it was like 3 months. I mean, it wasn't a tremendous amount of time. But
1 day is enough, dude.
Yeah, well,
so you had
because-
90 days over your head.
For 10 years, they'd arrest me, they'd put me in there for 2 days, give me a new court date, and set it up. So, I mean, I kind of did the time over the 10 years,
Right.
a weekend at a time. And this time, I still believe 100% it was God, because they were going to release me and just give me a new court date again, which I was going to skip out on and never show up.
Right.
You know?
Catch me if you can.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and I prayed to God, and things have been changing ever since. I mean, even further than that, because I struggled with it when I was in jail. I was still talking to people that used, you know, I wanted to talk to somebody, try to get somebody to put money on my books, which none of them ever did. I had 2 people were supposed to come pick me up from jail. One was a user. I would have been high before I left the parking lot. The other was my ex-wife, who is probably the biggest blessing in my life. But I walked out. She had no idea where to pick me up from or where to go to even get me. And she happened to be right outside the exit that I walked out. And boom, she's right there.
She was there.
Yeah, I was like, God, you know, that's when you just kind of look up at the sky and it's like, all right, I see you. I see you. You know, whatever. I don't know what you are, but I see you.
Is this 3 years ago?
This was 3 years ago.
Okay. So then,
And now, I mean,
no, not now. So
No, what?
no, I'm gonna hold you up.
No,
'Cause
no.
I'm no different than you. I jump too fast, but I'm gonna slow it down. So you're in there. The defender's like, we're gonna get you out, and I'm not catching this. So you go back in, you pray, like, keep me in here, God.
you know,
And you go out there, and he says you're gonna execute, or did they let you out?
no, okay, so this is where it gets where people probably don't like me. But anyway, so either I walk in the room.
We don't care about what people think.
Yeah,
anymore.
like I always say, I'm like a finger in the butt. Either you love me or you hate me.
I love it.
So I walk into the courtroom, right? And either all the women.
Did you say that I'm like a finger in the butt? You either like me or you hate me.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
All right.
Keep going.
So,
I was gonna use that.
so I walk into the courtroom, and either God exists or they all got on their period together and just hated men.
Okay,
And
sure.
wanted me to just change their mind.
All right.
I like to believe that God exists.
Right.
is what I choose. But yeah, they made me execute. I spent the next couple of months sitting in Ramsey County. Thank God it was the freaking workhouse and not the county jail, because workhouse wasn't
As bad as county.
that's how bad my addiction is. I was that comfortable in jail that it was like a vacation. I was like,
Right.
this ain't so bad. Nobody should be that comfortable in jail. Where
No.
like, this doesn't really suck all that bad.
No.
You know,
You're right.
It was better than being homeless and bouncing from couch to couch or
Right.
sleeping outside when it's 30 below out and just dumb shit.
So 2-3 months you have to sit, and then that's when you come out. That's when you're like either the basically dope man's picking me up or a sober person's picking me up,
Pretty much.
and that's when the ex-wife's out there.
Yep. It's just poof.
And what did she give you the business? Like, what were you clean the whole time, or were you able to get high while you're locked up? While you're in the
I don't understand why anybody would get high in jail, because my dumbass would just drill a circle into the
Oh, your thing was speed, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine being locked in an 8x6 room high. No.
Yeah, no,
I stayed
going out,
sober.
yeah,
I stayed
okay.
sober all through jail.
Well, jail and weekends count. Jail and weekends count.
Weekends count. And yeah, I got out and I knew what I had to do. I knew about recovery. I knew about the program. I knew about me. And that's what I did. And
So you just fast forward. So the wife picks you up, and then
we talk about all this reaching out for help business.
Yep.
Do it. Because when I got out of jail, I didn't have a license. I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have any way to get anywhere. So I asked my ex-wife, my mom, whoever was actually going to try to support me now that I was making good decisions, to bring me to rides. And I felt bad. I was like, I don't want to ask other
Right.
people for help. But you go to meetings, and I was just talking about this at the meeting tonight. You got to be vulnerable. You talk about this stuff, and you say, hey, I'm new in recovery. I got the will, but I don't have a way. People are like, oh, hey, I'll never forget. I went to, what the hell is it called? It's the Sober Trap House in Minneapolis. Willward for Recovery.
Yeah.
Right? And I love that place.
Yeah, we
But
support that
This
place.
guy comes up to me and he's like, so you want to come to the men's meeting on Wednesday? I was like, sure. This guy drove 20 minutes out of his way to come pick me up. And the whole time, here's my addiction, the whole time I'm sitting in this car freaking out because I'm like, I don't know this guy. What does he want to help me? What are his intentions with trying to get me in this vehicle and take me down to Minneapolis?
Was it Tim?
No, it was Chris. It was my buddy Chris. And but that's
I was questioning it too. I was like, did I go back tomorrow?
vulnerability.
I don't know.
And
But yeah, so you basically you're at a meeting somewhere. You're like, look, man, I want this, but I have no means of getting it. And you get outside your comfort zone and ask for help, and that's what you did. So some dude comes and gets you, and on the way you're freaked out, like, what's going on? Because it's something you haven't experienced before. Someone helping to just help.
Yeah, I've gotten
With a
cars
clear
with
head.
random people, but it never usually ended well. There's no telling. You could end up in a different state, different time
Right.
zone. You never know at that point.
Oh, that's such a meth thing.
Oh yeah.
Such a meth thing.
You know the things on Facebook where they talk about me after a night of drinking, and you show up just a disaster at your buddy's door, like I need 20 chicken nuggets and a Bible.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing. And I didn't know what to expect. And this guy had no hidden agenda. He just wanted to help me because I wanted help. And it was a great thing. And I found that to be true pretty much everywhere you go. I know as a newcomer walking into a room full of random strangers, it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to say, hey, I need help. I need a ride. But all you really got to do is just say you need, and somebody will offer to help.
But you fully understand that whole, as a new person, I didn't know anything about. Are you getting that static too? What happened here? One of these cords, something. Yeah, that phone. Get that phone.
Not my phone.
It is.
Oh,
it went away.
It stopped.
So sorry about that, audience. No, I didn't know anything about recovery when I came to recovery. So I definitely wasn't going to be like, oh, will someone help me? But even though you knew it, was it comfortable to sit and ask for help?
No.
Yeah.
I'm actually working on my fourth step, and we start finding out about all this fear things. As a man, as a drug dealer, as just a man and a drug dealer, you don't want to have that vulnerability, that weakness, that fear. I fear nothing.
We call it a weakness.
Yeah, we call it a weakness, and it's not.
I think it's a strength, honestly.
It truly is. But I've come to learn that everything scares me, and not just people or fights or anything like that, but like success scares me. Failing scares me. Love scares me. Doing good scares me. You know, things like that. Like the success thing. I just realized this recently. Like I didn't realize I was scared of success until, and I've never told my boss this, but he's gonna hear it because he's on here. But I got a raise like 2 months ago, right? And he wants me to start training everybody.
Yeah.
And like it was difficult for me because the whole patience thing, and I can tell you how to not mess something up so many times before I just do it myself.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
But like sitting and talking with my sponsor about it, I had this realization one day that I was scared. I was thoroughly scared that I'm going to train somebody how to do my job and they're going to do it better than me, and then now I'm going to miss out on my job.
That's a healthy fear.
That's,
But I don't know. I mean, the fear. Who pointed that out? Your sponsor?
I did. Like it
clicked.
yeah, I was at a meeting and somebody was talking about something and I was like, holy crap, I'm scared of success. I was like, I'm scared I'm going to do good and I'm going to lose my job because of it.
But see, you don't see it as this way, that I'm going to train these guys even if they supersede me. Like that makes me look good that I showed them this way. You don't see it that way.
No, I let the fear overtake me. I didn't look at the fact that I was the guy that was selected to show everybody to do everything because he likes the way I do it.
Right.
You know, I do it the right way. He wants me to show everybody else how to do it. You don't, when we get stuck in our heads, we don't see that. No, all you see is the fear. It's, oh man. You know, and it even took me a minute to even realize that there was a fear there. Like I was just kind of standoffish, like, you know. And
so how did you find, you found that by just at a meeting it clicked, or like how do you come to these realizations?
Open-mindedness for sure, because like you sit, they always talk about look for the similarities and not the differences. When somebody's talking about something, if you have an open mind.
Let me interrupt you real quick and just tell you, no one will be able to fill your shoes, man. That's not an end. It's a new chapter. Well put. You know?
I realize that now, but like still, like I realized it was a fear. You know, and it was a fear I didn't even realize I had. Like, who fears succeeding?
I think more people do that don't know.
Oh yeah.
You know, especially a bunch of people, when you self-sabotage for so long, it's not natural to, like, look, man, when you come to these rooms, you've been lying, cheating, and stealing for so long, that stuff feels normal. So telling the truth, doing right, and doing good feels awkward. It takes a while for that switch. So when you're feeling success, for a lot of people, near the beginning, feeling success doesn't feel comfortable.
No, you're basically waiting for the other foot to come down, and I'm going to do what I usually do and F it all up. You know, I think is typically what I'm used to, you know, because anything starts to go good, I get uncomfortable, and it's like, yep, let's go back to what's comfortable. I'm just going to F this up. What am I trying to say? You know what I'm saying. I mean, if any of you out there listening are addicts, you understand it too. You know, because we're just, like you say, we're not comfortable with it. We've been doing bad for so long that good feels wrong.
Right. And you know what? It was a pastor. When we have silent airtime, there's a weird feedback going on. But it was a pastor over at Serenity who talks about that. He's like, doing lying seems right. For so long you've lied and lied, and that feels normal. That feels like what the right thing to do is. That when we get into this recovery, we start doing the right shit, telling the truth, being honest. It takes a while before that sets in that this is the way it should be. This is the right thing to be doing. And eventually lying will start feeling bad again, like the way it's supposed to be.
I think that has a lot to do with the mask we wear in our addiction.
Of course.
So used to, like, I want all of you, I'm going to act how I think you guys want me to act.
Yes.
I want you to like me. I want to be accepted. I want to be cool, you know? And now that comes back to the thing. That's one of the joys and things this program has given me is I get to be like a finger to the butt. I don't care if you like me or not.
Right.
Whether you like...
He's our guest. He can talk how he wants.
I'm trying to keep the cussing to a minimum.
I remember one time, side note, this one time John was asked to share at Phoenix on I think it was
they had me
Saturday night, and it was near the beginning, and he goes out there, and it was like this, it was like, hi, F, my name is John F, and it was F word, every third word, and then he's like, you know what, I don't fucking care, this is my effing story, so I'm gonna effing swear as much as I effing want, but I've heard you share since, and it's not like that, but that was right in the beginning, bless you. But that's how this goes. Like you evolve over time. You start shedding those masks, and you start figuring out who you are.
We need to do that. I need to go up there and be me. I don't need to go up there and sugarcoat it. Because somebody not sugarcoating it for me is what made it click.
Right.
It took somebody being foul, vulgar, and just straight to the point for it to click for me. When you go to these treatment centers and stuff, and they're trying to sugarcoat it, and they got all these rules they want to follow and these scenarios that they can portray, it doesn't work for me because I don't get it like that. I need you to come at me and throw some F-bombs in there and stuff like that. You know, that's the way I communicate, and it makes sense to me. Mike could just talk on the mic and chip in.
He's not. He
sitting there all.
He doesn't do that yet. We're gonna go. We need at
We're working on it.
At about week 40, we'll get him to do a little more talking.
Come on, Mike. You can be guest number 2. I feel weird being the only guest here. You just.
Well, can I plug you back in? No. We might get him to. We got him to talk about what he's grateful for. Was that last week or a few weeks ago? He got on the mic.
He does a couple times.
I've hung out with him a couple times. He's a good.
I know he does. I know. This is 1010 Mike. We know all about 1010 Mike. So you spend all this time putting on a facade, wearing these masks, trying to be what you think you need to be in the life you're living. You get into recovery. You start tasting some success. Is it the success makes you uncomfortable? Was it that, or what was it about that had you realizing that it wasn't feeling, I don't want to say comfortable, but what was off about it?
I still haven't got that far. I guess I don't know exactly what it was, but it's just weird. It's not something, I was used to the chaos. I was addicted to the chaos. I liked the not knowing what was going to happen.
The drama, what's the next big issue, and
let me find something to throw a fit about so I can just disappear for 2 weeks.
Something to find yourself a reason to get high at you.
Well, I was breathing. That was the only reason I ever needed it. Like I say, in my addiction, I fully accepted the fact and was okay with the fact that I was probably either going to die on the streets or in prison.
And wholeheartedly, you were okay with that.
I was at the time. I was perfectly okay with that. And
you'd even talk about it and say it all out, like, I'm sure I'll die doing this.
Oh, yeah. I was like, I'm sure this is going to be the death of me.
And I'm speaking from like my own experience, knowing about that. Like once you're in we call it the hordes of addiction, because we got people that listen that aren't one of us. So like a lot of this, you might think it's mundane for me to have you explain it, but there are people that don't understand this disease, what this is. The shit like the mental health stuff you're talking about, like this thing that our mind plays tricks on us. Because I call that your mind playing a trick on you, or it's a fear. Like you say, it's a fear. You're being asked to. That's a huge. Go ahead. Come on.
So I just learned this really recently, and this was mind blowing. I mean, like I said, I've been in and out of this program for I don't know how many years. And you look at the first step. Became willing, blah blah blah, and our lives.
No. We admitted
that we were powerless over alcohol, and our lives had become unmanageable. I thought for the longest time that unmanageability was the jail, the lack of interaction with my kids, all that silly stuff. No. That unmanageability is the fact that I don't care, and I'm perfectly okay with the fact that I'm going to die a drug addict getting high, or I'm going to get shanked in prison because I got a smart mouth. And like that. Sitting with my sponsor, I learned so much, and I got to get back in with him because I haven't met with him since I've been out of town. But every time they talk about that word life or lives shows up in the book, they're talking about that shit inside your head. Because when I was just talking about this earlier, I was completely manageable in jail. I was manageable sleeping on the streets. That was
your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's
what you turned into your comfort zone.
It was what was going on in my head that was completely unmanageable. I'm like, he told me this, and my mind was blown. Like, I haven't been the same since. And that was just an amazing thing to learn. I don't know.
The cycle of insanity is comfortable after time, and it is hard to change from the comfortable insanity to the real me. The real way, the hard way of accepting things are not right, and the huge steps to change isn't something we make alone. This is your boss. Mm-hmm. Look at this, dropping heat rocks on you. Does he do that shit at work too? Yeah. And what do you do? You're landscape or tree trimmer?
I try to avoid the landscaping side of things as much as possible, but I'm a tree trimmer.
A tree trimmer. Okay.
And he plows driveways.
And I do plow driveways.
Does he plow your driveway?
Yep, he does.
Oh, okay. All right. I made sure Elena got her plug in for you there. So All right.
You're gonna get me in trouble with my boss for doing side work.
Nah.
These mics over here, like, yep, y'all should shut up.
He uses my truck.
With your plow.
Yeah, okay.
I just don't know how to work it.
Okay, fingers and butts. I love it. So, all right, John, we get into recovery. All right, reeling it back. We get into recovery. You just start going to meetings. What do? How do you're asking people on the street? I need to get to a meeting. Like,
I live right in Anoka. I was well aware of the Anoka, Illinois. I was well aware of Blaine. This is part of the reason why keeping meetings alive is so important. From when I was a kid, the meeting at Mercy Hospital. I went to that meeting as a kid a lot. I showed up there. It was still there. You know, I didn't know where to find an NA meeting. I didn't know about the apps that they have. I didn't know about all these things and ways you can find meetings online now, you know. So I went to where I knew, and I was just open. I was willing to talk to people. I was able to get vulnerable and say, hey, I need help.
Do you have support from family? Your mom got your back? Like, she always has?
Okay. Not always has. In my addiction, they wanted nothing to do with me.
Right.
And I resentments, fourth step. I had a lot of resentments and anger about that. You know, the ex-wife left me when I needed her most because I was drinking, and if she'd have stuck around, maybe she could have helped me get sober and blah, blah, blah. Going to the fourth step, I realized that with all them people, they did what they had to do to protect themselves.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Because there's a fine line between trying to help somebody and just enabling them. And by helping me, they would have just been enabling me. And that was another mind blower that, you know, I had to realize my side of things in all my resentments, in all my angers and all that crap. You know, and that's not an easy thing to do because you carry that resentment around for so long. With my ex-wife, for example, I was so angry with her that she left me and took my, I always said, she took my kids, she won't let me see my kids, blah, blah, blah. And the reality of it is she was just being an amazing mother and protecting her and her kids.
Right.
Doing what Mama Bear has to do. As long as I could pull my head out of my butt long enough to stay sober, to be a semi-decent human being, I can see my kids whenever I want. But like I say, that shame, that regret,
it's like a 1,000-pound phone.
It is. It's not wanting to. And I heard somebody say this the other day. And I guess this is kind of hard to even say, but it's the truth, so I'm gonna say it. I didn't like my kids when I was using because they affected my ability to use.
Right.
They got in the way of me getting high. You know, so I did everything I could to just not be around them. You know, and that was.
It's honesty, dude. Like, you're being honest. No, it's something that. Do you think the old John could have really said that out loud?
No, I would have said, like I said,
You blamed her,
yeah, she won't let me see my kids and blah, blah, blah. She's kind of a piece of crap and blah, blah, blah. But no, the reality is I didn't want to see my kids because then go see my kids, I couldn't get high.
You know how many relationships with women I burnt because I couldn't sit and shoot dope around them?
Yeah.
I would manipulate. Like, I watched my one brother do that. He would get in arguments with his girl just so he could get some free time to go and party. Like,
and I had no business being around kids. This one lady, God bless her, she let me stay at her house. It's kind of the same rule. She had a little kid. She's like, I know what you do, but don't bring it to my house. If you need a place to stay, you can. Well, that lasted maybe 1 or 2 times. I showed up with a bunch of dope in my backpack. We were in there doing whatever adults do, you know. And all of a sudden, this kid comes walking in with an ounce of dope in his hand.
Yeah, what do adults do?
Fingers and butts and slapping hands. So, okay.
Yeah, so this kid, he couldn't have been more than 2 years old, walking in the room with an ounce of dope in his hand.
He was in your backpack.
Yeah, he went through my backpack. We thought he was sleeping. He apparently wasn't. Went through my backpack and came walking in like, what's this? Thank God.
He didn't take a bite.
Didn't open it. You know, that could have been so much worse.
Yeah.
I talk about God a lot.
Higher power shit.
Higher power. And like I say, it doesn't matter who or what your God is. It just matters that he is.
Right.
And God protected me in that situation, protected me in the times I had guns pointed at me, protected me in the times that I didn't want to be protected. It was still there, you know? And that's what recovery has shown me, that when I can sit back and be honest and take a look at my life I can see stuff like that. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to just be, oh, poor me, woe is me, blah, blah, blah. And just shut up. You're an asshole. Deal with it. You know, learn, see your side of things and move the F on. You know, and that's been a huge part of my recovery is trying to not hold all that stuff. You know, and that was a big thing for me in the beginning. Well, with recovery, Gracie Starr, I think is her name, does the religious meeting or God meeting. She took me in the back and she's like, because I had a hard time forgiving myself for all the crap that I had done. You know,
Star's perfect to be with that stuff.
Oh my God! If you get a chance, I highly recommend it. But she took me in the back, she sat me down, and we started talking. You know, and it opened my eyes. She's like, you know, whatever you believe, your higher power forgives you. You know, and I was like, if your higher power can forgive you, why can't you forgive you? Not only that, but my mom, my ex-wife, other family members that not finally accepted me, but forgave me. They forgave me and supported me because I was finally making the right decision. They're like, why can't you forgive yourself? You know, and that's a huge thing because if you don't forgive yourself, you still carry that 1,000-pound weight around and you still fully believe that you're that person.
That's part of the fifth step. You didn't shed that shit.
If you still believe you're that person, in your head, you're still that person and you're not going to ever move forward. So you got to forgive yourself. And that was a huge thing for me, you know, and it wasn't easy because there's some stuff I've done that I'm super not proud of.
God will turn your mess into a message.
Yes. Yep.
Come all the way in,
Yeah.
sit all the way down, and listen. So, you start going to meetings. You get a sponsor.
Lots of meetings.
Like, so you get out, and did you have a job?
No. Not
So,
really.
it was
I was
recovery.
I did my own tree stuff at the time, but I was still in that addict mentality where I'd get a job, I'd get some money, and then take the rest of the week off.
Right.
You know. But I was going to 3-4 meetings a day. There'd be days I'd spend my whole day at the Alamo because I didn't want to get high. I was scared to be by myself, you know. And that's just, like they say, an addict alone is in horrible company.
I think that is important to talk about. That is that like some people might say it's overkill or oh you run a pink cloud, but like the way you just worded it, I think is important for people to hear that. It's like that's what you needed. You didn't want to get high, so all you knew to do not to get high was sit at a recovery spot.
Well, and just recently, I've been okay with being alone. Like it took about 3 years for me to be okay with just sitting in my room watching TV by myself. You know what I mean?
And it wasn't isolating.
You know,
it's healthy alone time. Elena would call it self-care.
I do it all the time. I love it.
Self-love, self-care. It's yeah.
He was flicking the bean.
All right,
Okay, so
I'd like to say meditation and masturbation.
there you go.
You know, self-love.
Each to their own.
Self-love.
That is not the self-love we were talking about, people.
Anyway, they knew what they were getting into when they asked me to get on the show. So, that is very important. You know what I mean? But that's how it was early in recovery. Is I still had that mindset where I didn't want to be alone. I didn't like myself. I didn't know what to do, and I figured for me, if I didn't surround myself with people in recovery, I was going to surround myself with where I was comfortable, and where I was comfortable is shit.
Right.
You know, and that would have got me high. And by doing that, I found some people that invited me to bowling, invited me to do this, invited me to do that. And now all of a sudden, I have people that I feel are friends. I'm having fun in recovery. Because when I get wicked ADHD, if I get bored, it's game over. You know, like I say, I'm going to go back to what's comfortable, and what's comfortable is crap.
Right.
So that's why I got to find, like, this is one of my favorite things. I go to meetings and people talk about newcomers and they're like, oh, you know, it's kind of boring. It's like, if you're bored in recovery, call me.
Right.
We'll go do some dumb shit. You know, I got to still be impulsive to a point. That brings up that other dirty word, balance, you know. But
What do you mean balance? And why is it a dirty word?
because it's difficult. Balance is a hard thing. So we're talking about all these meetings and stuff that I was going to. It got to a point where it did get to be too much. I swapped using for, you know, and it got to a point where I realized that I'm missing out on activities with my kids. I'm missing out on this because I'm always going to meetings. I'm not home for dinner because I go to work and I go to a meeting. I go do this sober event. I go do that sober event. And I was still missing out on the same things I was missing out while using. So
Right.
that's where balance comes into play. That I realized that I didn't get sober to still not be around. You know, one of the greatest gifts of recovery is the gift of presence. I get to be present for Belize, for my kid getting his license, for, you know, little things like that that normal people are like, oh, that's what happens as a parent. Not when you're out smoking
Yeah,
meth all day.
yeah.
That stuff doesn't happen because you're not there for it.
Well, and that's what I say when we have people who listen that aren't in recovery, don't get that. They hear someone talk like you're talking, like, what are you talking about? You're crazy. You be with your kids. Well, your story doesn't go that way.
Like I said earlier, I kind of hated my kids because they affected me getting high.
Right.
You know, and that's a hard thing to say, you know. And I've had these conversations with my kids. So you want to talk about an uncomfortable conversation? You try to explain to your kid, you know, that I'm sorry, man. I don't know how to explain it. All I can do is be better. That's one of my favorite sayings. All I got to do is be better. I'm in a competition with nobody. I only got to be better than the man I was yesterday.
Yes.
And that's what I try to explain to my kids. That I'll never forget. One time I got out of jail. I was high. She let me see my kids, and my youngest kid. This carried with me for years in my addiction. My youngest kid came out, you know, and he was always the one that was pro daddy. Regardless of what I did, he still loved me. And he came out. She wouldn't let me in the house. They came outside, you know, because she didn't trust me. But we're outside, and I'm talking to him, blah blah blah, and I'm like throwing promises out there. His name's Dylan. And I was like, Dylan, yeah, I'm gonna go do this job, which was like 2 blocks away from my ex-wife's house. I'm gonna go do this job. I'm gonna come back and we'll go get ice cream. That kid asked his mom for years, when is daddy coming back so we can go get ice cream?
You went out to get some cigs.
I went to go get cigs and milk and never came back. You know, I was that guy. And for years.
Yeah, of course, you're a good person. That's going to tear you up.
Yeah, and it didn't at the time. It didn't at the time, but every time I was in jail and I was talking to her, she's like, yeah, Dylan's still wondering. He still asks me when daddy's coming to go get this ice cream. So that's one of the things I try to do in recovery is to be 100%. If I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I try to make a point to do it, especially to a kid. I don't care if it's my kid, your kid, anybody's kid. If I tell somebody's kid I'm going to show up to this ball game, or we're going to go get lunch, or we're going to go to the arcade, or whatever it may be, regardless of what's going on in my life, I make a point of doing that, and I try to do that with everybody, whether it be adults, kids, work.
You be a man of your word.
Yeah,
Trying
you
to
know,
make that.
which is a huge difference from my youth. You know, because that was just all about a manipulation. I just told you what I think you wanted to hear to get what I wanted and go about my business.
So you start figuring out, like, I'm still missing out on the shit that I want to be present for,
Mhm.
and all I'm doing is meetings. When does that change come into play, or what happens?
That was probably about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. I don't know. I started the balance, the dirty word balance. I still hate that word because it is difficult, you know. Because there are times where I need more meetings. You know, I mean, I was going to 3-4 meetings a day. Now I maybe go to 2-3 a week. You know, 3 is if I really got nothing going on. But I do anytime there's like a speaking engagement or something like this comes up, or you know, some way that I can give back. I try to jump on that because that's what I need. That's what keeps me sober. But yeah, it's just I had to figure out that balance between because I didn't get sober to keep missing out on stuff. I got sober to be a good person, to
stay present, to stay in the moment,
be a responsible, productive member of society, and that's society being my family, my kids, my job, my life in general. You know. But like you say, in the beginning for me, that's what I needed. That's what kept me sober. That's where I met my support system. That's where I got involved and started having fun, you know, and that's what made recovery possible, was going to all those meetings.
Yeah, because you were big into, earlier recovery, you were at every Thursday night bowling. Didn't you also do the volleyball shit?
And I still do. I don't go as much, but I still do. And that's, like I said, that's the things I need to do in life. I gotta have fun. I'm a pretty outgoing guy, and if I can't, yes, I do the self-love. I spend some time to myself.
Dude, you just told us life is like a finger in the butt. You
No,
love or hate it.
I'm like a finger in the butt. Either you love me or you hate me, and it doesn't affect me either way. But even on that we were kind of talking about this earlier, life on life terms and acceptance and all that fun stuff. There's people I don't like, you know. I'm not going to say from where, but there are people that I don't like that have reached out to me, and I've gone out of my way to help them. I've helped people that I don't like get into treatment. I've helped people that I don't like get to meetings to do stuff like that.
But now, do you see it direct? Or tell us, why are you doing that? Tell us. What does that do? What is it doing for you in your recovery or in your life? Why would you help someone you don't like?
It gives you that warmth because I know what the gift of recovery is. I know what it feels like to be lost and broken and to be in that hole that you just keep trying to dig, but all you're hitting is rocks. I know what that feels like, and I don't want anybody to be there. You know, that when you're that desperate that you reach out to somebody you don't get along with, but you know they're in recovery and you know they might be able to help you, that's desperation.
The gift of desperation.
That's exactly what it is, you know, because right after that is hopelessness. And hopelessness sucks. So I do what I can for, like we kind of talked about a little bit, reach out. I don't care if you don't think I like you or we don't get along. I would rather hear anybody's problems at 3 o'clock in the morning for the next 6 hours if I don't have to hear your eulogy or see on Facebook that somebody committed suicide. A buddy of mine just committed suicide a couple days ago.
Yeah, speaking of that, we're donating. We're having this show in lieu of past guest name. I hate bringing it up, but you know what? We had Drew on our show and we had Monty on our show, and unfortunately, Monty's no longer with us. In the last week, he took his own life, and that's why we always talk about, you know, reaching out when you're struggling. Unfortunately, he went back out to what he thought was a solution, and it just didn't work out, and now he's no longer with us. And like what John's talking about, like this shit's
What's comfortable and what's comfortable is shit.
and this shit's real. They told me get 3 nice outfits. What's that? What's these weird noises? What? Whatever the case is, he's no longer with us, and it's unfortunate. But like John's like, if you're in a position to help, who cares what the other person's circumstances are? If they're reaching out, do what you can to be there for them. Like,
Yes.
and I'm not sure if we're talking about the same person, but it was a past guest of ours, man, and that sucks. And like I wanted to, you know, be dedicating this show to him, and it's unfortunate. Like that's the other side of this. And Elena talks about it. We talk about like mental health's real. Do what you can to reach out if you're struggling.
And that's, even whether he was using it or not, that I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to comment on that. But I just noticed my sponsor just popped in, and that was one of the reasons I reached out to him and started getting involved with the sponsor, because at 2.5 years of sobriety, I hadn't worked any steps. I hadn't done any of the stuff. I had a couple of sponsors I tried, it didn't work. And not even so much that it didn't work out, but I put everything else in front. I let myself get too busy, whether it be work or this, that, or the other thing. You know, I basically it wasn't even, I was purposely not purposely, but I was coming up with excuses not to do it, you know? And it got to a point where I wasn't going to go kill myself, but if I get hit by this big semi-truck that's pulling out in front of me, it's really not that big of a deal. Or,
That's what your head was telling you.
that's the kind of shit my head was telling me,
Right.
you know? I was getting in that funk, which can very easily still, just because you get sober, doesn't mean that the shit in your head's gonna get fixed.
Right.
You can still get in that spot where you're thinking about killing yourself, or that just care for life is non-existent.
Right.
But that's where the vulnerability comes into. I started talking to people about this, and they're like, "You need to do something about it," and that's what I did. I started working with a sponsor and a group of guys, and things are getting much better. You know what I mean? How am I trying to say this? I care now. I'm back to caring if I die. You know what I mean? And it's not even so much just the death thing. It has to do with, well, you know, that one drink sounds, that's not going to be too bad. You know, you start getting that stinking thinking going on. And that's never got anybody anywhere good. When you start thinking like that, you know, there are people in recovery, in sobriety, that kill themselves, because they don't work. They figure, oh, I got sober and now life is just great, great, but that's not how it works. You got to work on the root of what was causing all the problems, and if you don't get that shit out of your head, it's still going to be there and you're going to have a problem.
So mental health. I mean, we're talking about mental health.
Mental health is huge.
Like, if that's utilize your care providers, your health providers, or like these hotlines, or reaching out, like get vulnerable, like John's saying. And I know it's easier said than done on a lot of these topics. Like, we're sitting from a spot of, multiple years of recovery and working on ourselves. Like, it's easy to sit and say that from a higher horse where you're not dealing with mental health right now. And I do get that. But that's why I really strongly suggest, like, just privately reach out. Elena puts her number up here every week. I put my number up here every week. Reach out. No one's gonna put you down, man. Like he said, to just judge me. Don't like. I prefer to hear you struggling than your eulogy type shit. You know what I'm saying? Just reach out. That's like one of the main things that I'm trying to get out point.
And have an open mind. Because if you reach out to somebody who actually cares, there's a good chance they're going to tell you something you don't necessarily want to hear. You know what I mean? And you got to be okay with that. And that's not always an easy thing to do, because with that mental health, you reach out to somebody and they tell you something you don't want to hear. That stinking thinking starts to take over, and you start to think, well, F this person, and blah, 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 blah. Typically, the people that are telling you stuff you don't want to hear are the ones that care, because they care enough to tell you what you need to hear. The people that are just going to sit and co-sign your bullshit aren't necessarily the people you want to keep in your life.
Nope.
I'm not saying they're the worst people to have around, but in a serious time like that, where you're thinking, is life really worth it? Am I supposed to be doing this? That's bullshit. You need people that are going to call you on your bullshit, that are going to tell you things you don't want to hear, because that's what's going to get your brain working. That's what's going to get you motivated to make a difference, to do something different. And that's what we need, like you say, whether it be a friend, a family member. One of my favorite things to do is go to a meeting, listen at a meeting to somebody you can relate to. Somebody at that meeting will say something that you can relate to. Go to that person and talk to them after the meeting. Somebody you've never met before, somebody you may never ever see again, because who cares if they judge you, right? So what do you care? That's like the lady at the grocery store standing behind you judging you because you got funny looking clothes on. Screw them, But that gets it off your chest. It gets it out of your head, and it puts it out into the universe, if you will. And sometimes, like, they talk about burning desires at the end of meetings. I really like that, because sometimes, like I tell people, just tell on yourself. Because sometimes that thought that's been bouncing around in your head that's starting to sound good, just saying it out loud, you're like, damn, that's kind of a bad idea. And that's where they talk about that pain shared is pain lessened. Because just hearing yourself say it out loud sometimes, because I can only talk about myself, but I know for me, I'm kind of an overthinker, and I start getting them bad ideas. I'll sit in that isolation and I'll start thinking about it, and never once do you actually just say it out loud. It just bounces around in your head, and all of a sudden, me as an addict, I can make a bad idea sound real good real quick.
Oh, hell yeah. We're the best co-signers of our shit all day, every day.
I co-sign my own stuff all day long.
And talk myself into it, like, wow, that's a great idea.
And it's not, as like I say, I can only talk for myself. That ego, that pride, it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to be a pussy. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like you're doing is, oh, I don't have this weakness. I shouldn't feel this way, or I'm not allowed to feel this way. That's crap. Right. Feel that way. Feel what you feel. That's the joy of this program, is we learn how to cope with those feelings. And by talking about it and opening about it, what surprises you almost every time when you go and talk to somebody about that, either that person can relate and help you with what they've either been through, what you're dealing with, or they can point you in the direction of somebody who has. And that is one of the amazing things, is being able to talk to somebody who isn't passing judgment, who isn't looking down on you, because they know where you've been. That's right. With the people that I don't really like, they reach out. I know where you've been. I've been there, dude.
Yeah.
I totally get it. I don't want anybody to have to feel that. I know I can't save everybody. It's just not possible, I'll burn myself out trying to. That was the other thing in recovery in the beginning. Oh, let me save everybody. I was a drug dealer. I got the best stuff. The best stuff is recovery. Let me try to get it to everybody. That's not how it works, you know? So yeah, reach out. Be vulnerable, be open. They talk about the how, the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. You got to have those three things if you're going to get anywhere. And a lot of people show the willingness, you know, they show up to meetings, blah, 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 but they don't show the honesty because they're not opening up. They're not talking about what's going on in their head. And then they don't show the open-mindedness to be able to listen to what somebody has to say. Like I say, you got to be open-minded to somebody telling you something you don't want to hear,
right,
which is probably very likely what you need to hear. Because you're so used to all these people just, oh, yeah, man, just try to get some sleep, try to feel better. You know, oh, that's not always going to work when it comes to mental health. You know, I've been trying to sleep and it just doesn't work. You know, I shut my eyes and my brain won't shut off.
Right.
All I can think about is all this, right? All I can think about is, well, do penguins have knees? Do I really deserve this? Do I do that? You know, what would it be like if I just ran a chainsaw across my leg? You know, it's just stupid shit that goes on in your head. You got to be open about that and get that crap out of there because, like I say, it just bounces around and it starts to sound better and better and better.
Oh, wait, he just stopped talking. So let's give John a minute to drink some water since he hasn't stopped talking and we have to get him to talk.
We want you to keep
We
talking.
got to get him to talk for the last hour. So let's switch over to Tim and do some tidbits with Tim.
John's the shit. I love him.
John, drink some water.
Dude, I got this whole big ass jug of Monster over here.
Okay.
All right, listen. Why did the golfer bring two pair of pants in case he got a hole in one?
Oh, God.
How do you follow Will Smith in the mud? Follow the Fresh Prince. Come on, guy. Did you think it was gonna be something with a slap? All right. Am I the only man my wife has ever dated? Unfortunately, yes. She said the others were all 9 or 10s. Get it? Am I the only one she ever dated?
Oh,
What do
I get
you
it.
call a well-dressed alligator?
What?
Investigator.
What vegetable is cool, but not that cool? Radish. It's kind of radish, you know? You guys know what the dad jokes. Come
How
on.
much does a polar bear weigh?
How much?
Enough to break the ice.
See, that's a good dad joke. You can't spell par entry without try. You know what? Check it out. John kind of alluded to it. We tell on ourselves. I'm always in here quoting about like what PJ talks about on Tuesday nights and on Sundays, matter of fact. And it's stuff about telling on yourself that'll help save a life, save my own life. If I know like people that aren't in recovery that care about me, let's just use my mom. She gets nervous when I tell her like, oh, I'm thinking about heroin today. It's when I'm not telling her that I'm thinking about heroin that you need to worry about. It's the times that I'm not sharing about these messed up thoughts or like I'm thinking about going to get fucked up. Those are the times like worry about me when I'm not telling you about what's going on with me. Like John was saying, we tell on ourselves. You might not want to, but I need to do that type of stuff. If the people around me are worried about that type of stuff that I'm saying when it's something about not harming myself, but going back out to the life I used to live, I have to do that for myself. Worry about me when you're not hearing me be honest with you. And that's about it. That's my tidbits with Timmy tonight. And to wrap it up, John, do you have any other jokes? Any other dad jokes?
What do you call a fish with no eyes?
What? Get it? No eyes, the letter?
God, yeah.
See, when we gotta explain the dad jokes.
Right? 'Cause that's what makes it the best, is when you gotta explain it.
If April showers bring May flowers, what do May flowers bring? Pilgrims. Jesus. All right, back to your regularly scheduled program. So, John,
Tim.
I gave you some direction for coming on the show tonight, and I don't know. Did you read that long ass message I sent you?
Just say no.
No. Actually, I did. And I even went on Facebook and I posted for
You did, I saw that.
anybody have any ideas of topics? Because I don't do good. I'm very impulsive.
Oh, so you knew where I was going with this question.
Yeah, I'm smelling what you're stepping in, buddy.
All right.
And here's what some people talked about. They said, "What about relapse? It seems to be a thing sadly," and it is. You know, one of the things I hate the most is when somebody says, Relapse is part of recovery.
What do you mean?
Yes.
Drives me nuts. Relapse, for some people, even in my story, relapse is part of my recovery. But it's really
why?
It
it's
doesn't
really
have
not.
a
why.
Because there was no recovery.
Thank
Relapse
you.
wasn't
Keep it going.
Relapse wasn't part of the recovery. I wasn't ready to start recovering. There was no recovery if there was relapse. Relapse usually comes because you're not sharing. You're not doing the steps. You're not
Reaching out.
You're not reaching out. You're not
calling your
You're
sponsor.
not recovering. There's a huge difference between recovery and just not getting high.
Or the people that say they never opened the book before they had a relapse.
Yep, and that's just relapse is not part of recovery. If you are relapsing, you're not working a program. You're not you're not calling a sponsor. You're not reaching out to your peers. You're not doing any of the things that we need. That comes down to that mental health thing. That bad idea starts bouncing around in the head, and I can make it sound really, really good. Like Timmy was just saying, what you need to worry is when I'm not telling you about thinking about heroin. When I'm not telling you about them days that, it was kind of a long, hot day. One of my favorite Facebook memes is a picture of Robert Downey Jr. and it says, yeah, sometimes a drink after work sounds good, but then I remember I got shit to do for Christmas. And that's me, there's not just one drink. There's not just one hit of pot. I'm balls to the wall. Me and my best friend were talking about this one day. He was being vulnerable, and he's like, I've kind of been thinking about getting high. And we joked around a little bit, and I was like, dude, you're going to be off to the races by the end of the week. And he's like, let's be honest. I give it 24 hours, and I'm off to the races. And if you're anything like me, that's how it is, because that's just what I do. I go big or I go home. And typically when I go big, I don't get to go home.
Is this the best friend that I know?
Jordan? My buddy
Yes.
Jordan, my little short fat gnome buddy. I love you, buddy.
Don't make fun of Jordan. Jordan's listening right now.
I know, that's why I said my
Jordan's got a good life now.
He does now because he pulled his head out of his ass and he found recovery. But that's just how relapse doesn't have to be a part of your recovery. Typically, and I can only talk for myself, I keep saying that, but in my opinion, if you're relapsing, you're not working a program. And that's just being honest. That's how I feel about it. You're not doing the things we need to do to stay sober. You're not vomiting. I just saw my sponsor. See, you could have totally said that right in the.
So I said that in a meeting one time
that was a good
in
tidbit.
Alano, because there was some kids there from a treatment center, and some dude was like, relapse is part of recovery, so it's okay if you leave. And I said, the best thing about recovery is that I can say whatever's on my mind. I said, relapse is not part of recovery. And this guy got so mad and he walked out. I said, that's his recovery right there. You don't have to do those kinds of things. I said, relapse is not part of anybody's recovery, because then you're not doing what Dr. Bob wrote in that book and told everybody to do.
Granted, it does say in the book, you can, if you don't go out and try some more controlled drinking, with the air quotes around controlled, because that's what it is. You can try some controlled drinking. Tell me how that works. How does it work for your entire life up to this? Oh, here we go. It's about to get serious.
Your boss just put Jordan as our Travelocity gnome.
Oh, I fucking This is kind of off topic, but the running joke is we want to get him dressed up as a Travelocity gnome for Halloween and just take pictures of him in different places.
That's flipping hilarious.
We gotta get, so if there's anybody out there listening that can sew me up a Travelocity gnome outfit, call me, reach out.
I love gnomes. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, but relapse doesn't have to be part of recovery. You're not working a program, because if you're thinking about using, let's reach out, say something, talk to somebody. Me and another one of my buddies, we've done a couple of 12-step calls. We've helped people that are talking about relapsing. And you hear people say this: if you want to go to the dope man's house, give me a call. I'll give you a ride. The whole purpose of that is, by the time we get, I'm probably not going to bring you there. I'm just going to drive you around aimlessly. And I'm going to talk about why you're feeling like using, and we're going to get to the root of the problem. And by the time we're done, you're probably not going to want to use. If you want to use and go do that controlled drinking, that's on you. Go do what you feel you got to do. Because like I say, I can't save everybody. Like the whole saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. That's one, this is a we program. We do this together. But if you're not letting anybody help you be a part of that we, you're stuck on your own, and an addict on their own is in horrible company.
That's true.
So, I mean, what do you do? You know, you can. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah.
That's okay.
Right here,
I think-
somebody said a relapse can be and often is fatal. That is so true, especially nowadays with everything going on with the fentanyl and everything else. I don't know how many people, I hate to say it, people are just dropping like flies. It's fucking ridiculous. And that's what scares me, is that if I always tell these people when they come back, they're like, oh yeah, you know, hey, I relapsed, blah blah blah. Yes, those are some of the strongest people I've ever met in recovery. You know, because they'd be able to go out and get high once or twice or whatever, but just to be able to come back, that's not something I could do. My addiction, for me, as soon as I open that door, the floodgates are going. There's no stopping. There's no, oh, I feel bad because I smoked a little bit of weed or I had a drink. No, my attitude is, oh, I already screwed up. I got to start over. Let's go big. You know, I'm going to do everything I can, and I'm probably going to end up dead. I'm not going to make it back. And that scares the crap out of me, that it's going to kill me. You know?
So I missed the beginning when you were talking. What age did you start using? Was it when we were all hanging out?
Oh, I think I started smoking weed at about 9,
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Well, that's way before I met you.
Yeah, we've known each other since what, 15, 14, 13, 15, something.
The year that our friend died.
Dan?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was 13 when Dan died.
Yep.
So that was, you know, but yeah, we were sitting, when Dan died, we were sitting at the park smoking pot, you know, and
we were sitting at Point Park in Anoka.
you know,
There's like 30 of us that always used to hang out.
yeah, and I was using then. It was Fred Moore. I was selling pounds of weed.
I remember Fred Moore. Do you remember that time? I hate talking about this. I don't remember a lot from my teenage years, but do you remember that time that I was so high that I moved my car and Tommy was laying on the ground in front of my car in a blanket, and I forgot that he was there, and I literally almost ran him completely over. And he got up and he's like, sis, move over. And he drove me to the gas station and got me food and something to drink.
You need a nap and a sandwich.
I totally remember that, and I've talked to him a couple times. It was like Tom F. I forget what they called him. We hung out with a bunch of people that drove big, huge trucks and Firebirds and had CB antennas hanging off their vehicles.
Yeah.
It was absolutely crazy, but that's what we did when we were growing up.
And I just noticed John here said a price will be paid. What price are you willing to pay? You know, are you willing to get, he talks about this all the time, are you willing to get vulnerable and to open up and feel like that pussy? That's a much cheaper price to pay than death. You know, than to pay that price of all that stuff that's going on in your head. To not be there. Like, one of the highlights of my life, and as a kid, I got my permit. My mom, the day I got my permit, my mom took me to Anoka High School, and we whipped shitties in the parking lot because it was snowing out. She
Heck
was
yeah.
like, if you're going to drive in Minnesota, you got to know how to drive in the snow. For 16 years, I wanted to do that with my kids. I got to do that because I was in recovery. You know, I got video of my kid whipping donuts in my truck. It was great.
At Anoka High School.
At Anoka High School, same place. You know, and it was an amazing thing. And like that, those are the things that get me high now. You know, those are the things that I look forward to, that I get to enjoy. Things that I used to be like, oh, fuck, I gotta go do this, I gotta go do that, and you know, I just want to go. There's a big old bug in the window.
Stop it.
Those little things in life are the things that I get to enjoy now. Things that I used to hate because they got in the way of my youth are the things that bring me joy to my soul. And it's just an amazing thing. I don't know if that's a cockroach or what the hell that is.
It's not. It's a
big.
flying bug.
It's-
And if it flies, I'm going to lose my shit. Where's Tim?
Oh, so what else do you want to talk about?
Whoa, you didn't come up with any ideas or
Okay,
what?
so we talked about.
We talked about relapse. What was the other one that people talked
Let's see
about?
what else we got here. What did going on the trip do for you in your
That thing is
recovery?
flying.
We talked about that a little bit. A couple other ones are, what does integrity mean to you? What does putting action into recovery do you mean, or how do you become complacent in recovery?
Well, here's somebody has said, can John talk more about what balance looks like for him today?
Oh, who said that? You bastard.
Mike S.
All right.
Mike S.
Balance for me is it's exactly where you gotta find balance. You gotta figure out a happy medium between your recovery and your life. You know what I mean? Because like I said earlier, in the beginning, I swapped from using drugs to using recovery. It was basically like a whole new addiction for me because I was missing out on life because I was too busy. She's still stuck on this flying bug. It's not even funny. But I was so focused on going to meetings and trying to help everybody and trying to just be a part of recovery that, like I say, I was still missing out on life. And until I started actually working on my recovery and getting to a point where I don't feel like I have to be in 3-4 meetings a day, where I can go a day or two without missing meetings. Balance for me is 2, sometimes 3 meetings a week, depending on what's going on. Setting time aside every week to spend with my family, to go do things that bring me joy, to, live life. Because like I say, when I was using, I sat in basements and in garages and wherever, and that's all I did. And I talked about going out and doing all this stuff, but I never got around to doing it because I was too busy sitting around getting high. And now I go out and I do those things. As simple or as dumb as they may seem, I go out and do those things. Whether it's just having a bonfire or a barbecue with a couple of good buddies, or just going to a friend's house and sitting there watching TV with them and just talking smack.
Have you ever been complacent?
A lot. How do I describe this? I guess I don't know if complacency is the word. Yeah, I get to a place where I get complacent because I start getting lazy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I start getting lazy. I feel like I'm comfortable where I'm at. I don't want to do any more, and once I start getting in that mode, I actually start feeling like I want to do less because I start getting comfortable that, I haven't been to I didn't go to a meeting for, I don't know, most of the week before I left for Belize. I didn't get a chance to go to one in Belize. And so now that I've been back, I've been to, I don't know, probably 3. But that's what happened when I was sober before. I stopped going to meetings. I stopped talking to people. And it got to a point where I got extremely complacent because it's like, oh, I'm still sober. I haven't been to a meeting in a week. Do I really need to go to a meeting? I could probably make it another week. And the next thing you know, it's been a month. And after that, it's like, well, I haven't gone in a month. Do I really need, I can probably do this all right, and then it's all downhill and backwards from there, and that's where they talk about it. When's a good time to go to a meeting? When you want to go, when you don't want to go, blah, blah, blah. So I try to make a point of, what are you guys doing? You guys are looking nuts over here. But anyway, I try to make a point.
Just Tim.
That's just him. All right, fair enough. I make a point of going to meetings. They talk about having a home group. I don't, per se, have a home group, I guess. I go to meetings I frequent pretty regularly. But for me, I like bouncing around. I like finding different meetings. Because even in the literature, it talks about, what the hell's the wording? I think it's in How It Works. But it talks about going to different meetings and hearing different things. If I go to the same meeting over and over and over, I keep hearing the same thing over and over and over and over. And that shit drives me nuts.
Depending on the meetings you're going to.
This is true. But even so, hearing it from the same person, they can be on the solution. But like I say, for me, when I hear it a certain way is when it clicks. And by going to a different meeting and hearing somebody tell me the same thing that this old timer's been telling me at the meeting I go to all the time, but hearing somebody say it slightly different, all of a sudden it clicks. It's like, oh, damn. The guy that's been telling me this, that's got 40 years sober, and he's been telling me this for the last couple of years, I was just stopped paying attention to him because I'm sick of listening to him talk. Now somebody else is telling me the same damn thing, and it makes sense. So that's what I like to do. I like to go to different meetings. Yes, it's good to have a home meeting, to have support. Elena's got something to say.
No.
It's good to have that support because that's where people get to know you. Those are the people you get intimate with. Those are the people you get vulnerable with. Those are the people that when you're having a bad day, they call you on. They're like, what's going on? Where you can kind of, maybe that's not such a good thing going to the different meetings because you can kind of avoid that. But for me, I like to go to different meetings because I hear the same thing differently and it makes it click for me.
It's
So-
a different perspective.
Thank you.
So I'm the type of person where if I don't see a person at a meeting, I reach out to them and I check on them and see how they are and stuff like that. I haven't been to a meeting in a month.
And no one's reached out.
No one has reached out to me once.
Yeah, and I've actually gotten to a point. I just reached out to a friend today. When I just recently started doing this because I think it was Tim who was talking to me about this months ago. It's like when you start thinking about somebody, there's a reason you're thinking about them, whatever it may be. I try to reach out to that person. Whether it's because I haven't seen them at a meeting, I haven't ran into them somewhere, whether it's just an acquaintance. But if I start thinking about a person, I feel like there's a reason that person is, whether it be the higher power putting it on my brain or what. But I try to reach out to that person because there's times when you get in that funk, just somebody reaching out saying, "Hey, how you
Yeah.
doing?" is that can open the floodgates to get to that vulnerability, to get to that intimacy. Because it is, like Timmy says, that 10,000-pound phone, it's hard to pick up and just, because I don't want to bug you with my problems. I don't want to call you in the middle of the day when you're probably at work or doing some important shit or living your life and weigh you down with my problems.
But that's our heads lying to us about
Mhm.
that because it might be saving someone else's life. Your problems, my problems that I think are my problems, me holding them in, that's why we share. That's why Bill and Bob, like they realized this shit was a weed program. After months and months of him telling Lois, like, look, I'm working with all these alcoholics and they keep drinking. She looked at him and was like, have you drank? Like, no, it was working. It's one person with this addiction or alcoholic or drugs with another one. So that's why this whole we thing works out. Me telling you what my problems are, but me lying to myself thinking you don't want to hear my problems. There's something in my problem that could save another person's life. Like that open-mindedness, that willingness, that comes into play there. And I was trying to find it. That's why I'm sitting here madly ripping through my phone. But there was a gist for today. It was called "Don't Shoot the Messenger." I think it was back in January. But it talks about exactly what you're saying. Like we start closing ourselves to someone that we might not like. We might not like the tone of their voice, the way they yell, the way that they're obnoxious or they're loud or whatever the case is. Like, don't shoot the messenger. Still do what you can to try to hear the message they're trying to give off because it might be some shit that'll save your life. You never know. All right, next, John.
What do you want to talk about?
It's your show, dude.
See, ask me a question.
What was the biggest hurdle in your early recovery?
Forgiving myself.
Okay, what do you mean?
Coming to terms with the shit that I did that I wasn't proud of. Because like I said earlier, until you forgive yourself, you still fully believe you're that person. For me, I can only talk about me.
Yeah.
Until I forgave myself, I still fully believed I was that piece of shit that didn't want to see my kids, that only wanted to work a day a week to get just enough money to go get high. I had to forgive myself. And once I forgave myself, that's when I probably started to grow. That's when the biggest growth started to happen to me. That's when I started to learn about balance. That's when I started to learn about life in general and how to live and be a decent person. Bob talks about action. Action will change your thoughts. I think is how it goes. I don't pay attention to it. But there's Earl H. There's a speaker. I started doing this thing while I'm driving around plowing instead of listening to the radio.
You can't act your way into a new way of thinking. You can't think your way into a new way of acting. You got to act your way into a new way of thinking. All right, Earl H. Yeah.
Earl H. He's a speaker. That's what I do when I'm driving around plowing. I'll listen to AA speakers.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy talks about, pretty much what you just said. He's like, well, I just heard some stuff, so I'm going to go to my room and think about what I just heard because that's what I got to do. I got to think about it. Thinking about it ain't doing shit. You got to go out and do something about it.
Program of action.
Program of action. Like I say, I only got to be better than the guy I was yesterday. And that I can sit and think about how I can be better. Maybe I can think about not being an asshole to this guy or not being patient with this guy. But until I actually go to work and show patience or show up in life, whether it be with my kids, work, love, meetings, anything. Until I actually show up and do something, all I'm doing is thinking about it.
Or just talking.
Just
Yeah.
And when you're thinking, you're not even talking. And like I say, sometimes just saying that stuff out loud makes you realize that, hey, I should maybe do something about this. I need to make some changes, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And that's just, we got to do stuff. Like I say, when I got in that funk and I was starting to think stupid again, that's what I had to do. I had to do something different. I had to start working with the sponsor. I had to start getting intimate and vulnerable with people and letting them know what was going on in my head. Because the more I sat and thought about it, the better it started to sound. That's a scary thought.
Yes. Two things. One is, I meant to say this at the beginning of the show and top of the hour, is side note. And then we had a guest ask something from me personally, and I'll explain that too. Run for Ruddy tribute. Tomorrow, July 30th, a celebration of life for one of our friends, Kevin Ruddy. It's going to be a bike. It's bike run to Lake Mille Lacs, followed by a gathering with the pulled pork and food spread to share. Roundup begins at 9:30. Kickstands up at 10 at Riverdale Church, 3210 Bunker Lake Boulevard, Andover, Minnesota. There's food, raffle, and music. Starts at 3:30 p.m. We are all welcome, riders and non-riders. That's at 15210. Hedgedongs. I'm gonna have Elena put it on there, but wristbands $20, memorial patches are 10, raffle tickets, and the 50-50 drawing. This is for Kevin Ruddy. He passed away at the Gopher State Ride. Got into an accident and no longer with us. Tomorrow is that memorial ride. And then there is another memorial ride coming up, and that is for Carl, who we had on the show too, Carl Gallagher. I believe that's the 28th of August, and we'll talk more about that when the time comes. So somebody asked me I was talking about the Just for Today. Someone asked me to read today's Just for Today and then have a share on it. And I think this is a good one. It's about expectations. Yes, expectations. I'm not going to read the whole thing. As we realize our needs to be forgiven, we tend to be more forgiving. Basic text 39. Our behaviors towards other people in life is a mirror of our own behavior towards ourselves, which John was talking about earlier. When we demand perfection of ourselves, we come to demand it from others around us too. As we strive to repair and heal our lives in recovery, we may also expect others to work just as hard and to recover at the same pace as we do. And just as we are often unforgiving of others and our own mistakes, we may shut out our friends and family members when they don't meet our expectations. Working the steps help us understand our own limitations and our humanity. We come to see our failures as human mistakes. We realize that we will never be perfect, that we will at times disappoint ourselves in others. We hope for forgiveness. Just for today, I will treat others with the tolerance and forgiveness I seek for myself. Expectations. I'm in a relationship with someone now, coming up to a year almost, and I'm learning a lot about expectations. Plus, in recovery, we used to talk about with Tad a lot, I didn't know how to be a good friend. I don't know how to be a good boyfriend. I don't know how to be a good son. I assume certain things, and then I put expectations on other things. When I put an expectation on something, I'm already setting myself up for either failure or resentments.
Yep.
Can you relate? And if so, share about it. Expectations. Even on our own recovery or where we want to see ourselves in life or anything. Do you think there's a problem with expectations? Do you have an issue with expectations? Share about it.
Expectations lead to resentment. For me, my expectations, like I said, I had a couple years of recovery, and I wouldn't really call it recovery, but sobriety. So I got out of jail this time, and I expected everything to be like last time. And it was nothing like last time. Last time I got out of the halfway house, I got my license back right away, I had a job right away, this, that, the other thing right away. It all happened super quick. This time around, I had to work for that shit. I had to work hard, and it wasn't it wasn't just given to me, which I think is great because now I actually
appreciate.
That's the word I'm looking for. I appreciate it and I'm grateful for it. But that was part of the forgiving myself, and that's, not so much forgiving myself, but that expectation of my last time in recovery versus this time kind of screwed me up, because it was like, well, why don't I have my license yet? Why do I still gotta ask people for rides? Why don't I have a good job? Why don't I have my own place? Why don't this? Why don't that? And I see a lot of people when they talk about going to treatment. Somebody asked about what's a good piece of advice you would give somebody, and when they tell me they're going to treatment, I'm like, don't go into it with expectations, because when you go into it with anything with expectations and it doesn't meet your expectations, you're all of a sudden you're upset, you're salty,
Right.
This isn't the way I wanted it to be. Well, that's not what this program teaches us. This program teaches us to live life on life's terms. So expectations will get you screwed every time. We got to learn how to accept, how to be okay with the way things are. Things happen in their own time. And when we try to get that control and rush things, that's when it gets effed up. That's when we start moving it up, screwing it up. People say don't leave before the blessing happens or before the miracle happens. I actually learned on this mission trip I went on, they talked a lot about patience, which is,
For us, we have to talk about it. Down there, it was like just normal.
no, well, they talked about being patient with your higher power, being just patient in general, which is a God moment for me, because I've been praying for patience a lot lately. So to go on a missions trip in a different country and have some random person start telling me about patience,
I like that. No, live life on your higher powers terms, Johnny B.
and I love him. But anyway, those expectations, you go into something like you were just saying in your relationship. If you go into a relationship expecting it to be like your last relationship and it's not, and all of a sudden you're not happy because it's not the way you want it to be, the way you expect it to be, and that's just setting yourself up for failure.
Just like assumptions, like we make this assumption. Just like you're saying, last time I was in recovery, like I got my license in 2 months, and I got a job, and I was banking money, and and I had a girl, and basing something off of your past, expecting that to happen again, assuming it's going to happen, resentments.
And I'll use relationships as an example. Like, there's some expectations are good, what the boundaries. There's some expectations of how you should be treated or how you should be approached. Those are good expectations. I call them boundaries. Everybody's got to have boundaries, and when those boundaries aren't met, it's okay to walk away. But when you go into a relationship, I expect her to be barefoot, naked, and pregnant. That's just a stupid expectation, because that's
it is.
just not a real thing. You know what I mean? But that's what I mean. If you go into a relationship, and I'm just using a relationship as an example because you brought it up, and that's your expectation, you're going to get shot down every single time. You know what I mean? That's with everything in life.
You're going to get smacked.
Well, a funny side note is like the second I stopped putting, I don't know if you call it expectation or like assuming, like I wanted a girlfriend, I wanted something like that. And I put that to the side and just focused on me and bettering myself. That shit came on its own time. Like, it happens when it's supposed to happen. I can't force it. But I think that is a key thing. Like, when we talk about expectations, like that will lead me personally. It leads me into failure or self, like my own self. I set myself up for failure is one way for me to word it. Even with relationships too.
Okay, well, screw the. We'll talk about recovery. You walk into a meeting and you see this guy. He's got a good job, got a good car, got nice clothes, this, that, the other thing, and now all of a sudden your expectation is for your recovery to look like his recovery. That's no two people's recovery is the same. And that's difficult because you see this. Yeah, when you go a lot of meetings you go to, you see people have these gifts that have been given to them, these things, but they worked for those. 9 times out of 10, it just wasn't. Oh, here's a good life on a silver platter. So if you walk in expecting that everything's just going to be good, great, grand because now you're going to meetings and you're not getting high, that's not how it's going to work. That's where the open-mindedness comes in.
Right.
And like John was saying, you got to live life on your higher power's terms. your higher power. I believe we don't always get what we want because we're not ready for it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? And if we get what we want when we want it, there's a good chance we're just going to F it up. You know what I mean? Think about if you've ever been given a vehicle or just been given a gift
Oh yeah, you
versus
can't
something
appreciate
you had to
it type
work
deal.
for
Yeah.
and pay for out of your own pocket. You appreciate what you put in the work for way more than something that was just given to you.
Well, that's my life story. Like I call it enabling, call it what you will. Growing up, having a parent that in her eyes, I did no wrong type of deal. So of course I do wrong, knowing it'd be all good.
A naive mother.
Something like that. I think deep down she knew, but it's like, you know, in her mind it was always like that. It's like I don't know the worth of $1 because I never had to work for $1. You know,
Yep.
it was always just given to me type of deal. But that's kind of side noting. But I do think that is really relevant about with expectations. And like you're saying, everyone we come into this program, everyone's got to have their own experience. I can't have John's experience. I can't have Mike's or Elena's. I got to come in here and have my own. And once that kind of came through full circle for me, I realized it and accepted that, life started changing for me. Once I realized I wasn't the shit, I realized I wasn't unique. Let's talk about that. Because you should, what? You're going to talk? I'm going to plug your mic in, dude.
He put his own mic in.
Get it. Come on, what do you got for us,
Say
Mike?
it. Lay it on us.
One expectation we all should have
Yeah?
is acceptance.
That's a good expectation to have. What do you mean by that?
What do I mean? Well, in recovery, you should accept that you are powerless over alcohol. You should accept that your life has become unmanageable in some way, shape, or form, which is going to be different for everybody, because everybody's perception of unmanageable is going to be different than the next person.
Did you plug your mic in?
Yeah.
I'll be a monkey's uncle. I'm not getting you. I agree with you wholeheartedly. There was a few things when we were talking about expectations. Like, I don't feel it's wrong for me to expect certain things of myself. They're like showing up, being present. Now that I know better, go ahead.
Even having too high of expectations of yourself is going to F you up.
Yeah, I didn't say high
But
expectations.
the expectations in general, even with yourself, because you are going to fail.
Of course.
You're human. Nobody's perfect. You're going to fail.
That's the same as when I said my mom was my higher power for the first 3 years of recovery.
You know?
And someone said, what's going to happen when your mom fucks up? You put her up there on this path. Go
They
ahead.
can hear Mike.
Who's that?
I don't know.
All right,
Aaron said he could hear him. So.
All right, good. No, that's good.
But yeah, the expectations of yourself. If you expect that, because I'm sober now. I got buddies, one in particular, and I've always looked up to him because when I first came into the rooms, he was, ever since he'd been sober, he had a charge come up of first-degree sales. And now he's had to deal with 2 first-degree sales in sobriety. You know, so these expectations that just because I got sober, life is going to be good. No, we did some effed up stuff.
Dude, I've been locked down in recovery.
There might very well be some consequences to pay for the shit we did. That's life.
It's all sorts of things. It's just like my mouth, my teeth. Like, dude, I'm clean now. Why do I have to keep losing teeth? Dude, well, when you do fucking opiates for 20 years, what do you think's gonna happen?
Exactly.
My liver's shot. Well, did you think drinking for 30 years wasn't gonna take a toll on you? Like, it's just like anything in life. Like, my knees are shot. Well, yeah, dude, you did construction for 35 years kicking carpet kickers. You know what I mean? Like, when I said, I didn't say high expectations. Let's get that shit straight. No, I do put expectations on my recovery. They're valid.
No.
Meaning showing up and staying present, being there for the next suffering alcoholic or addict. You know, picking up the
Mike
phone.
had to stay here. Replace external and internal expectations with hope and grace.
What feed are you on?
I'm on the freaking chat, man. Where are you?
Let me see.
I keep having to refresh it.
I'm on the freaking chat, man. I love this. Finger in the butt. Well, dude. All right, so check it out. We got 9 minutes before we hit our 2-hour mark on this show. I need you to share with us what's most important in your recovery today.
Showing up. You know, like I say, when I don't show up, I start getting complacent, and that screws me. That's what. So I might contradict myself here. I hope not, but maybe so, because my relapse, it wasn't part of my recovery, but I learned from it. I chose to learn from it. I learned what not to do. You know, I learned that I need to continue going to meetings. I need to be open. I need to be vulnerable. And that's a big thing. Those are all things I didn't do in the past, and I fell off. So yeah, I guess I got lost. Yeah, I get sidetracked. Squirrel, little hamster wheel thing. But just showing up, you know, and that even comes down to with people I don't like, because that's like it talks about in the book. Helping other alcoholics is what's going to keep us sober.
Stop telling people you don't like me.
I love you most days, except for when you look at me like that. So yeah, just showing up, you know, on the days I don't want to, on the days I'm tired, on the days, you know, and that's not even just in life in general, you know, showing up for work, showing up for meetings, showing up for my kids when I'm tired and I don't want to do this, that, or the other thing, but my kid wants to go fishing, you know, that comes down to that balance thing. You
Right.
gotta show up, smash them delusions. That's what Johnny Bryce got to say, you know.
Johnny B.
Oops. That's that's what we got to do. We just got to show up, you know. If you're not showing up, you're not showing the willingness. You're not showing the open-mindedness. And that's just, for me, that's probably what's most important in my recovery, is showing up and actually doing the damn thing.
This is cool. It's giving our certain listeners titles.
Yeah, I
Says
saw that.
Bridge is an anniversary
That's been
follower.
there forever.
Johnny B is a milestone file. Dude, you are a milestone. He's been a guest on our show 2-3 times. Love John. John's
Why
never.
can't I put a face to that?
He's a sexy
He
beast.
is. He's.
I'll show you some pictures.
Yeah.
He is one
He's a
heck
sexy
of
man.
I know. I got him
You guys
blushing
seem
right now.
sexy.
Huh? No, like.
Is this like The Rock, or
I'll
is
send
it
you
like
pictures.
the dude that wears the little coat? Like,
He's like, what's that?
I'll show you pictures after the show.
Mike's over there shaking his head.
What?
Sean Connery. He's like Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sean Connery, sexy.
He's like Sean. You don't know who Sean Connery is?
No.
Google that shit. Google it. He's like Sean Connery.
In his prime. Come on, let's
Yeah,
get it right.
right?
He's Sean Connery in his prime of, James Bond.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. And I won't let
Toothpicks for life. He says.
Toothpicks for life. Yeah, he was on the show with Melinda the first time. And then he was here when it was John and John. And John's mom got a 40-year medallion.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh.
I remember Mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
John, I won't let you get forgotten.
I remember Mom. I don't remember John.
Yeah, well, John's not forgettable.
No.
He's very unforgettable. Especially
I just like moms.
especially when he starts sharing that shit.
Right?
Mike, what's been the biggest hurdle in your recovery?
Biggest,
Right on the mic. You got to get right on the mic.
You got to
Mike.
put it in your mouth, bud.
the biggest
That's
hurdle,
what she
The
said.
biggest hurdle in your recovery.
acceptance.
Acceptance. What do you mean?
Accepting who I was, accepting everything that I've gone through. Step one, that our lives have become unmanageable. I had to accept that before I could accept that I was powerless over alcohol or my addiction.
Elena, what's been your biggest hurdle in early recovery to now?
Loving myself.
What's that?
Loving myself.
Okay. What do you mean? Like,
I didn't. Seriously?
no. What do you mean by loving yourself?
I didn't care about myself. I didn't care who I was. I didn't care what people thought about me. And now I care about all those things. To a point. To a point. I care more about myself than I care about what people think about me. because I'm still going to be me no matter where I'm at. You can't change yourself. I just had this conversation with a sponsee, and that was going to be my thing tonight, but I came late because I have a migraine. But don't change yourself for somebody else, because all that's going to do is hurt yourself. Do not do that. I've talked with a couple sponsees about that recently.
I think I think spot on. God, I had a quote from old PJ on here too. So, all right, shit, 10:50. All right, guys, girls, listening
Ladies and
audience,
gentlemen,
ladies and gentlemen, one more time, we got the Run for Ruddy tribute tomorrow, July 30th, a celebration of life for our friend Kevin Ruddy. It's a motorcycle ride, plus there's all sorts of other good stuff going on. Reach out to me if you want further
I
information.
couldn't save it. I couldn't put it on our podcast, but I put it on the 2218 Attitude for Gratitude page.
Perfect. And I appreciate that, Elena. Also,
I like it. Just to touch on that, the ride itself is free. There are things
Yes.
after the fact, but just to come ride and hang out and have some fellowship and just feel the love costs you absolutely nothing.
That's right, rah. 2218, that's where we have this podcast from. That we're held up in, we're here at 2218. They graciously let us have this podcast here. It's free of charge to have it.
Can you imagine that? They let us in buildings after hours.
I
with
know.
locked doors now.
I know. They're
Isn't that
trusting
just
me to
great?
lock up $1 million building or
They
whatever
locked
it
us
costs.
in.
Well, locked still. It used to be they locked us out. They
Yes,
used to
and
come-
turn the lights
Yeah,
off.
turn the
and-
lights off, shut the blinds down.
Yes,
There's no way home.
not anymore. And this is the place that saves lives. This is the place that never closed their doors during COVID. This is the place that's been around for 80 years, handing out recovery. And just show up. If you're able to volunteer some time, come on down and volunteer some time. We could use some help down there. If you're able to financially donate, Elena has graciously put up some links so you can follow those and donate if you're able to. Or just go to 2218.org, I believe. If you have any suggestions for this podcast, reach out to Elena or myself. Make this your show. If there's some guests that you would like to see on the show, reach out to us. Let us know. Is next week Rick and Jesse again?
Did you put your phone number on there?
Yeah, I did right away when we started the show.
Next week is the first Friday, right?
Yes.
So next week is Rick and Jesse.
Rick and Jesse are back and we're banging out step 9.
No.
I meant
Step
step
8.
8. We
We're
made a
following the
list of
months.
all persons that we had on and became willing to make amends to them all. That's a big one. So come on down. Come check out a meeting. If you are curious about the meetings that we have here, listen to last week's show. I droned on for 10 minutes reading every single meeting that this place has. Every day of the week, there's a 7 a.m. meeting, there's a noon meeting, there's 6:30 meetings, there's 8 o'clock meetings, all throughout the week. If you want to come start a meeting here, you definitely can. We've got rooms available where you can bring your meeting down here. If you're looking at finding a more central location, come on down, start a meeting here at 2218. Come be a member here at 2218. Make this club your club.
Absolutely.
Make this podcast your podcast.
This is their podcast.
If you got ideas, reach out. Again,
You got both their numbers. Just blow up their phones.
I dare you. So, we talked about some heavy stuff tonight, and Elena put up some links, and I put up some links too. Like, if you're thinking of anything, self-harm or your mental health or suicide, any of that stuff, like you're struggling, please just reach out. Use this show as a networking platform. Elena's never going to not answer her phone. I'm never going to not answer my phone. And if we don't answer, call someone else.
Don't ever think
Or call
your
again.
Yes.
Don't ever think your problem is so small that it's not a big deal.
No, your problem might save my life.
Yep.
And even if we don't answer, you can send a text.
No,
We just
100%.
might not know who you are when you first call.
Yeah. Just don't give up on yourself. You're worth it. You are worthy. You're way worth it. You belong here, and just stick with it.
Absolutely.
Keep showing up. Don't leave. So
So I have a question, Tim.
what?
What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful. I am grateful. You know what? I am grateful for responsibilities today.
What?
I am grateful that I am responsible. Anyway, no.
When anyone, anywhere reaches out for
No,
help.
I am. I just did something that I've never done in my life. I'm going to Arkansas in September from the 8th
What?
to like the 20th for a long vacation, motorcycle ride. And I'm going with a group of people from the recovery trap house. I'm going with a group of people from Wilworth. And they're all leaving like 4 days later, and I'm staying for an extra 15 days. I'm flying my girl out there from Thursday to Monday, and we're staying in this really luxury, bougie spot. I'm grateful that I'm able to do stuff like that today. I've been on vacations in other relationships. I never paid for them. Either they did or my mommy did. I was never responsible enough or was able to do that on my own, nor would I have. My drugs and my other use was way more important. So I'm grateful I'm able to do stuff like that today. I'm flying my girl out to see me when I'm in Arkansas. What? Yeah, I know, that's crazy.
I paid for every vacation.
So is every girl in my
Okay,
past.
Elena, what are you grateful for?
Like what?
Who invited him?
Right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you gotta be ready for hearing something. You know, might not want to hear. Get it, girl.
I'm always grateful.
For what?
I don't always show it, but I'm always grateful. I'm grateful that I made it here tonight. I can honestly say that I thought about not coming because going to sleep was very appealing to me.
But someone reminded you that John was going to be crushed if you didn't show up.
Yes.
Tim did tell me that John and him would miss me if I wasn't here.
And I wasn't lying.
I'm grateful that, honestly, I'm really grateful it's the weekend. It's been a tough week.
I've been so scared to say that to you
At
ever
work.
since you snapped on me for saying it last time.
It's been a tough week at work, so I'm grateful it's the weekend. I'm gonna do some fun stuff and not so fun stuff this weekend, so yeah.
That's cool. Well, you know what? Mike, what are you grateful for? Get on the mic. Close.
I'm grateful for the people that I have in my life right now.
That's it. That's good. That's awesome. So, following that up, we're always like to our guest, John. What are you grateful for?
The gift of presents.
Ooh.
Absolutely, the gift of presents. If it wasn't for the gift of presents, I wouldn't have got to do the shitties in the parking lot. I wouldn't have got to go to Belize. As stupid as like the gift of presents is just so great. Like I got to bring my kid to the emergency room. You know how good it felt that they went through a list of like 5 or 6 people that my mom, my ex-wife, my kid's godmother, everybody but me was on this emergency call list. My kid chimed in and said, "Call my dad. Just call my dad." And I was able to stop what I was doing and go get my kid from school and bring him to the hospital and spend the next 3 hours in the emergency room. That, as stupid as that sounds, that was great. That was the gift of presence. That is what recovery has brought me. I get to do stupid, silly little things like this for the people that have never used drugs or aren't an addict. It may seem normal to you, but those are the kinds of things I missed out on for so many years, you know, and now I get to be present. And that's, I when I pray at night, that is the thing I am grateful for and make sure to say my thanks for, is that I get the gift of presence. I get to be present here. I get to be present when people reach out. I get to be present for my kids. I get to be present for so many things. And it's so amazing that I couldn't ask for anything better.
I don't know if your wife is listening right now, your ex-wife. I always call her your wife, but she makes me smile every time I see her come up to the Alano with you or bonfires or whatever. I flippin' love your wife. Like, she is absolutely just an angel.
She is, like I said before, she is probably the greatest blessing in my life, which is, it's great. And I'm hoping she is listening right now because it's kind of a pain in the ass to get her to come to things like that.
Oh no, she'll come because I made that amazing tequila berry salad that
Oh, yeah.
she loved.
Oh, yeah.
I still have to send her the recipe.
But she likes to give me my space. Like she's like, well, those are your people. That's your thing. I'm like, it's part of my life.
They're her people
You're
too.
you're part of my life. This is all. That's that balance thing. We got to put it all together and make it work.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But yeah, the gift of presence is the most amazing thing. Like because I'm present, I get the joy of things that I never thought would bring me joy. Like arguing with my kid about falling behind in school. Who would have thought that having an argument with your kid would bring you joy?
You really shouldn't argue with people taller than you.
Yeah, well, my kid, we were at bowling last night, right? He's like, oh, have you seen Dad? He's like this tall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was like, dude, most parents probably would have smacked the shit out of you. I'm over here giggling.
He brought his family to Father's Day of a Blaine Alano and his kid towers over him.
Oh, yeah, and the best part is my youngest is 13, and he's going to be the tallest one of them all because we got this little marker thing on the wall.
Yeah. He's
At-
growing quicker.
Yeah, at like 10 years old, well, they were all the same age, and he's a good 2 inches taller than the rest of them. And it's like, what are you guys going to do when the little brother's the big brother? Now you guys got to get on a chair to try to punch him in the face. Good luck with that.
You guys, I love you all. Thank you for coming in, John.
I love
You're a great
everybody.
guest. Will you come back?
Absolutely.
All right, you heard it here. John will be back next week. Is Rick and Jesse to come knock out step 8. We appreciate everyone that checked in tonight. Again, if you are struggling, please, I beg of you to reach out. You are loved. You're worth it. You belong here. Have an experience with recovery. I love you. Till next week. Douches.
Douches.